So today we're bringing you the Shakuhachi and the viola. And you know me from my other videos, Daniel Nyohaku Soergel and Anne Frascarelli. And the viola. So we're going to talk about the differences, cultural differences, the sonic differences, just the whole aesthetic to making music. These are roughly the same musical range. And for players, this is a 2.0 Shakuhachi, and your open string is a C.
My lowest string is a C.
Your lowest string is a C, and my lowest note, covering all the holes, is a C. So we'll just sort of just look at what's different and what's similar, and there isn't much similar, I can, except that they're a lot of fun. So how did you come to play the viola? I mean, it's not such a common instrument compared to the violin and piano.
Well, my parents are professional musicians, and my dad was my violin teacher, and my mother was my piano teacher. And I played violin all the way through high school. And then when I went to college, I joined the college orchestra. But I didn't want to practice enough to be a first violin, so I switched to the viola. And it actually is suits my temperament a little bit better as well.
Oh, okay, okay.
And I've played the viola ever since.
Is it easier on the ears than the violin?
No, whatever instrument you play, you just have to play well.
Oh, okay.
So.
Because I remember, you know, the flute being hard on the smaller flutes are really hard on your ears. I mean, how long can you listen to that? Then when I heard the shakuhachi, that beautiful low sound, like if I play,
I think it depends. I mean, some people like sopranos, some people like tenors. A viola is considered either like an alto or a tenor voice. So if you want to range it, so a violin is more a soprano, violas or altos or tenors.
So we're both of us in a very common vocal range in our instruments,
pretty much,
which is really nice.
And then you get into baritones and basses if you go through to a cello and a bass.
There's a problem with playing a lot of shakuhachis together. They kind of like mush together and it doesn't sound so good. It really works better as a solo instrument. Now your instrument is designed to, if there were lots of violas together and lots of violin, it would really, like the string quartet, create an amazing sound. And I'm not so sure how that happens, but each of these is, say they're all in tune, they all have 5 holes, they're all a D, all these players have been playing for 20 years and they can find their way around and tune to each other. But when you mass them, just sounds terrible. I don't know what to say. But when you mass violins, violas, cellos, basses, you get this incredible sound, and there's vibrato involved.
Well, it can be. Yeah.
There can be. And so I'm thinking of the great orchestras. I mean, when you hear the great orchestra, you're hearing something that's just, you could listen to hours for it.
And the whole point of an orchestra, and one of the things I like about being in an orchestra, is you are a little tiny cog in something that is much greater than each individual. Because if something's going well, then it's an experience that you can't get by yourself.
Oh, sure.
So yeah,
Well,
and your whole focus is to blend in with the other players in your section, and then to understand how your section is playing against or with the other sections, including if you're in a full orchestra, including how and typically violas and bassoons frequently play some of the same lines. Or understanding all the moving parts, and how you fit in and out of each other.
So you're feeling the players around you, but you're keeping an eye on the conductor, but you're sort of locally tuning or in synchronicity with your other players. And of course, the more you play together, the more you get to know everybody's personality.
No, the whole point.
No?
Because the whole point in an orchestra is that you don't have a personality. The personality of the music is the conductor. In other words, you have in an orchestra you have what, 45, 46 prima donnas who all have their own vision of how that piece should be played. And so if you let them all go off on their own, it's like herding cats.
It's like a company that's got 12 people and they all have an idea how to run the company.
Exactly.
And
So
it can't be done.
one of the main purposes of a conductor is to have a vision of how that music should be played and how it should sound and the style that the composer was looking for, and how that style should be translated from what's on a piece of paper into sound, and then to ensure that the orchestra, I mean, the composer is essentially playing the orchestra, if you think about it.
Sure. And you have
and to make sure that everybody in the orchestra understands what his or her version is.
Sure.
And to fall in line behind it.
So what we have in the East, it's called sankyoku, 3. San means 3.
Okay.
Is the shamisen, which is the lute. It's right there. It's in your face. Then the harp follows. The koto follows and fills it out. And now the shakuhachi is added to it. So we're following these two. So the conception of sound blending, which is just normal in the West, is not part of traditional Japanese music. The sounds are happening simultaneously. So it's more like a texture than, I mean, I'm not saying there isn't texture in Western music, and that's what good composition is all about. I mean, just Beethoven, but the instruments actually are, it's like a jazz quartet. You really, that saxophone isn't blending with anything. It's so unique. And the other instruments, the drums, the piano, the bass, they're all unique. You hear them all. You hear these wildly different textures.
But that's what happens through a piece. And you can see it from a conductor who will, because just not everybody's equal throughout the whole piece. So in orchestra composition, or even in a quartet, in anything, you typically have somebody who has the melody, and it could be anybody. And in an interesting piece, that melody is passed around. And part of the fun of listening to a piece is, and in Western music, it's stretched out, its keys changed, it's turned upside down. You got first 2 notes, last 6 notes, whatever.
Yes.
But following that, and the ingenuity of the composer in playing with that throughout the instruments in the orchestra.
And there's another thing going on. This composer has a vision, a conception. It must be, interpretation, that you say realization.
Absolutely, and there's a lot.
He must realize it.
There's a lot of discussion about the style of the music and what Beethoven really meant, and what Mozart really meant, and you have musicologists who spend their whole career trying to figure out, because all we have is scratches on a piece of paper. We don't have anything in that sounds like what the composers wanted.
But there's a codependency, because that composer is nothing without you, all of you in the orchestra, to make it happen, to be that well-oiled machine, and to be responsible, to have the musical background. And so it's very interesting. Your ego is definitely going to interfere, but you get into this group, and then that makes it so all of these link. The conductor has got the composer in part of his brain, but he's got you guys.
And we do too, from the standpoint of, and this is where you can get into when you approach a Mozart piece or when you approach a Beethoven piece, you need to know what the style is, because you need to know what is going to be expected of you, and the sounds you're supposed to make. And then the composer can refine it. I'm not the composer, excuse me. The conductor can refine it, but you have to bring your knowledge of what you think that composer's style is to it.
Sure.
So yeah.
Well, we have the problem in the West, so I'm in the West, but I'm playing music from the East. It takes years and years and years to get a hang of it. I don't know if it took you that long. While you were born with music in the house, it took me forever to get a feel for Japanese music, well, especially the chamber music or the ensemble music. But then there's that, like you said, that rush of working together. So just like the jazz quartet or jazz trio, here we have the Sankyoku trio, and it's a real incredible experience. I mean, I hope every player, with my instrument, plays that instrument and the meditation. And so they're meant to go together. I mean, for a few hundred years they've been together. Although this instrument's misunderstood, all the monks play that. It always had kind of like a dark kind of like, oh yeah, those guys aren't really good. I've met some of these guys. They only play a few songs. They really are monks. They use part of their meditation.
But they're using the instrument in a different purpose.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
So this is kind of grafted in, whereas your instrument, as well as the ones bigger and smaller, came out of this kind of, idea that this will go well with this instrument, will blend with this, and this will take up the range lower, this will take it higher, and of course then the woodwinds are part of that too. So I think it's a very interesting development. I mean, we were talking about, where did this come from? It's actually very mysterious. Where did it start? Was a box and with a couple strings on it?
It probably from the lute tradition.
From the lute, yeah.
Lute through probably viola da gamba.
Okay.
And then, because you have to have a couple things. One of which is you have people with vision, and who are looking for different sounds, and then you have to have technology catch up with you, whether it's the glues that are used, the wood that's available.
I like that.
So
People with vision who are looking for different sounds. That's really great. Well, we have these two instruments. Let's try playing.
You want to just play a little bit?
Let's play a little bit together.
Okay, we'll see what we can do.
You want to try Sakura?
Sure, why not? Let me have a C.
Okay, so now we're tuning. This is for the audience out there in global internet world.
So that's okay. So let me just do relative tuning for me.
So the problem with my flute here is it's a meditation flute. So when I get to this note, that's as loud as I can play that. But the next note, it's nice and loud. So I think for this, I'm gonna use a shorter flute. So, and in this one here, I can hear that. She can hear that, so we have.
And the viola can adjust if I can find the first
note.
note.
So you have to develop the skill to play any song almost in any pitch or in any pitch.
Starting anywhere.
Once you know the intervals of the song. So I simply switch out my flute and then play, because my notation itself is only fingering charts. It's only close all the holes, open the holes, close the bottom hand, open. That's all it is. Where you are, it's a relative world for you.
Yes.
This is very interesting to me.
Yeah.
So let's tune. So
What's your
it's funny.
first note?
I'll close all my holes. This is as low as I can go, or without doing anything fancy.
Yeah, that's a D flute, and that's a D on my
flute, and you just
instrument.
played a D.
That works.
Funny, like there's no wrong notes in music if you can recover.
Right.
And then people say it was supposed to sound like that. And we're not even going to do it again and get it perfect, because this is really about having fun with our instruments. If you have friends that play different instruments, see how it goes. You'll learn so much about your instrument and their instrument in the process. Obviously I don't know much about the viola, and you're learning about this instrument.
And I'm playing off a piece of violin music, so it all works.
If you took this music score away, you think you could match it more easily?
Probably not. I don't have that ear.
Oh, interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Well,
There's a skill in they call it interval training, is when you hear two notes and you can identify the interval between them and then automatically translate to your fingers. And I am way out of practice, so I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
We tried it on a different flute.
Yeah, okay.
Same viola.
Okay. Well, thanks for sticking it out and watching the video all the way through. like and subscribe if you want more content like this, and we'll travel through the musical universe, making discoveries in each other's worlds. Thanks for listening.